Hello again. Welcome back. We're doing another Homeschool Haven Parent Spotlight today. And today I get to spotlight somebody I know personally. Her name is Camille. And I'm just going to jump right in here and read her awesome situation and question that she has. She says, "Hi, I would love some tips on how to keep my 8th grader on task without me having to micromanage him. We are homeschooling. However, all his classes are virtual through Williamsburg Academy, except his math is with teaching textbooks. He is clever with technology and has found ways to bypass Circle and Microsoft Family. I'm constantly catching him on YouTube and video games during his lectures. He is almost 14 and thinks he is 20. He hates being micromanaged. I'm not the best at following through with consequences like taking his phone away, but know I need to do better. I feel like at his age, he has to be the one to want to learn and want to excel. I would love any tips you've got for me, and thank you so much for your posts. I've been loving everything." Thank you for your compliment, Camille. This has been a really vulnerable and neat thing that Michelle and I have been doing, and these compliments, we kind of find ourselves living off of them, just grateful for them. Probably not living off them, that's a little extreme, but truly grateful. It kind of keeps us going, so thank you for that. And it sounds like you've got a really great perspective here. I love everything that you've said. I've heard great things about your son. I haven't met him in person, so I know he's a great kid, and I just love your mom perspective here. You've got your head on straight, it sounds like. I'll just share 3 things that came to my mind as I was looking over this week. The first thought that I had is actually from my childhood psychology classes that I took in elementary education, and you've maybe heard of Vygotsky. He talks about the zone of proximal development and scaffolding. So if you just kind of Google that and learn a little bit about the zone of proximal development and scaffolding, you'll get some bullet points. I think the first one that you get there is like a Simply Psychology, a little article that outlines it really well. That is something that popped into my mind here that might be helpful for you to kind of study and know, because it's this whole idea of how to get our students and our children into the zone of proximal development, where the greatest amount of learning is, it's kind of like that magic place where they're motivated, they're learning, they're challenged enough, but they're not under challenged. And there's also this scaffolding piece of how to build to that and how to create that. So that's something that I thought here, that might be a resource, something to study that might bring some thoughts and ideas to your mind about what might be helpful with your son. That is something that's helped me in different areas with my kids where I'm struggling with trying to get a certain behavior going or help encourage something, and understanding that has brought a lot of just, I don't know, I suppose inspiration really of ways to go forward. This is super common though. I know lots of moms that are struggling with the YouTube and video games. I've wondered this year if, it's so virtual. Is that part of it? Is there some... that's a big learning curve as things are so virtual. And we've had years where we've been all virtual online too for our homeschool, because that's what we needed to do in that season. I find that there's perks to that. It takes a lot off of you as the mom, especially in that first year or two where you're still trying to figure out how to have this new thing happening at home. I think there's a lot to be said for virtual that is awesome. So when I speak to some of the negatives here, I don't want it to sound like I'm saying no virtual, because there have been seasons where we've used all virtual because we needed to, and that was the best thing for us at that time. So that being said, I found that during those seasons those years where my children were in all virtual learning, that most of their subject matter, their main core subjects, was all being addressed in that way. There was just some grump factor, there was some growth factor, there's some, their eyes on a screen and tense, and I think a lot of that, it kind of affected things, and I wonder if that's at play a little bit for them there, on a screen. It can be that might be part of it. And that could be there, but that doesn't mean that, therefore get rid of the screens. No, this might be what's working for your family, but just knowing that might be helpful. So that was one thought that came to me. Another thought that I had has to do with Williamsburg itself. So we use Williamsburg Academy here at our house. I was initially attracted to them because of their leadership learning philosophy. I'm kind of a gal that's an eclectic. I love learning about all the different learning philosophies, and I'm a little bit of everything. And I loved Williamsburg's leadership class. So I don't know if your son's taking that. I don't even know if I don't know if it's like something that everybody just has to take, but it's the reason I went to Williamsburg, and it's the one class that my kids always take from there. In the years that we've laid off of virtual and we've done other things, they've always had that leadership class that I really, really like for me personally. And two of the things that they do in that leadership class, that's part of the responsibility of the student, is a parent-student contract. So they set up a contract. One of their assignments each semester is to set up a contract with you as the parent. This was super awkward for us at first. I didn't know how to make this work for us. It took time, a semester or two, before we'd like really figured it out. And that first semester too, I didn't really know like what expectations to have. But now you've seen a semester through, and you can kind of see, hey, these are things I want him to work on and some expectations I have. How can we make that contract work for us? And like you said, you're like, hey, there's certain things that I could take away, but it's hard to follow through on everything as a parent, right? And the parent contract kind of gave me the opportunity to sit down and think, hey, what are the things that I'm committed to following through for my child? And that kind of defined that a little bit and helped to do that scaffolding experience. So if he's not taking leadership, I would say that's another one you can look up. This is a popular thing to do in middle school and high school with teachers and students. And to create this contract thing, it's kind of I don't want to say trending, I've seen it, but I've seen it more heavily in recent years, this whole idea of creating that contract where the student is very much involved in having a say in what that looks like too. So that's another one to maybe look into. The other assignment that they do in leadership is called the TNT, and it's a time and tasks where every week they have to report on, create kind of a schedule for themselves and report on how it's going and do that. Now for my oldest daughter, this her brain just thinks that way. She's just got this little spreadsheet checklist brain, and it worked really well. She really liked it. I didn't have to do much. My second daughter, it took me, no joke, 6 to 8 weeks to scaffold her through that. And for me, scaffolding looks like, and this might not be according to Vygotsky that I mentioned, it looks very almost micromanaging, but not completely. It's not helicopter, but I'm very intense there with the scaffolding in the beginning. But the idea of the scaffolding is that you can eventually remove it, right? And that you've got it's not needed anymore. But it's very intense in the beginning. That's the purpose of the scaffolding. And so I'm kind of there intensely helping her with the intent of backing off, if that makes sense. And it took me, that was my focus, was to teach her how to use her time all by herself and we had to focus on that for a month or two. It had to become our focus. I took a lot of other things that wasn't it, and that was my focus for that child. I usually have just one specific thing for each kid that I'm like, okay, this is my focus. I can't do it all. So this is the one. And with her, it took me a while, but she's up and going now. She knows how to do that. So maybe, I guess, just teaching him how to manage his time and to have that within the parent contract and all of that, and some follow through, that might create this whole zone of proximal development where we do understand that our kids need to be able to learn and to be internally motivated to learn, but we also have to do some very specific things to create that, if that makes sense. And this TNT, this parent contract, these might be two things that could help you to create that. Just studying this Vygotsky idea might help you, give you some ideas, but those are really the main things that came to my mind. And maybe in future years, our semesters, is it worth taking out a few of these digital options and replacing it with something else? And you'll know that this is only your first semester, right? So you're learning what works and what doesn't. Give it a full year and tweak. You can't, obviously, if I can go back and redo 3 years ago when I was homeschooling, it would look different, but we needed to learn from that too. So there'd be no way to do that. I'm pretty sure that's it. Camille, you're doing awesome. It sounds like you've got a really great mindset and idea of where to go, and I hope this helps. My final thought that I'd offer today is find if nothing that Steph has said here helps, if it's like, that just causes me anxiety, that's not for me, that's great, it works for you, Steph, I'm good. I find that, and especially in the community that you're living in, I know that there's a lot of women that are homeschooling, and I found that I had about 5 or 6 women that I kind of just really admired the way that they were homeschooling and the way that they were raising their children, and I wanted to emulate that. And when I had a homeschooling issue that was specific, I'd reach out to 1 or 2 of them at a time. And if something that one of them said didn't work, then I moved on to somebody else. And eventually I found something that applied and worked for me and my tribe, because we all just tick a little bit differently, and every child is so different. And so the experiences, you eventually find somebody that's similar enough that you can glean off of that. So I'd offer that up as well. So you're awesome. You're doing great. Anybody that's watching this through the end, if you've got any ideas to kindly offer here, we would love to hear from you. And finally, if you would like to be a parent spotlight, come on over to homeschoolhaven.space, and you can come on over to our Facebook page or email us from the website and let us know maybe what your question or concern is. We just put together a video like this, try to give a couple of resources, and it's free. So, there's that too. Welcome though. And if you decide to join us, and Camille, again, have a wonderful week. We'll talk to you later. Bye.